I'm starting to realize that a big key of being successful is somebody's ability to like judge who they should work with and associate with.
Building that community early on for me is probably the key reason I actually ended up being able to make it in this industry.
Even our main investors, they want to see a cool game.
You have to have open communication explaining why things are the way they were, because really we want what the players want.
What would be kind of like the number one thing you've learned working from like the business side of AMG, and what we should make sure that we do or don't do when we're launching our game to make sure that we're relating to the player base and the creators and the community?
I think that the number one thing is communication, and it's easy to communicate during good times, very difficult to communicate during bad times. Making things in the game that force people to help each other, communicate to each other, stuff like that, like that fosters community.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Fateless podcast. I have got along with me Sham and Simon, and then a very special guest. We've been wanting to get him on the channel here for a while to join the podcast, so it's going to be a fun one. We have got Tim or Ash, Clash with Ash, all that good stuff. So Tim, why don't you go ahead and kick it off and just let people know what you're up to recently, what you do here at Fateless, and a little bit of your backstory, and then we'll launch off that.
I am psyched to finally be on one of these podcasts, guys. I have finally made it. I'm thrilled to be here, seriously, and it's been overdue. I am Tim. I go by the moniker of Ash. I've been making YouTube content for over a decade. Raid is what probably a lot of people viewing know me from. But before that, did Supercell games as well, and have 4 YouTube channels. But the last 5 years been more interested and focused on marketing, communities, and supporting those involved in each of those endeavors in mobile gaming and gaming at large through the company that me and my co-founder started 5 years ago called Aftershock Media Group. As it pertains to Fateless, obviously big fan of everything I've seen so far. We meet weekly. We talk about, everything from progression strategy to different types of champions to everything in between, which is really fun because, even though I'm here, I guess to answer your question, I'm here to focus more on, I guess, marketing, influencers, community, like that sort of aspects of the game. I still get to stay in the loop with all the fun stuff going on in development as well on a weekly basis.
And just real quick, what's like the 30-second description of what Aftershock Media Group is?
Yeah, well, we started as an agent, a talent agency, right? So we got, guys like Simon here, right, on board, guys like you, Brad, early on. And then when COVID happened, we started doing a lot of productions, game launches and big updates and stuff like that. Everything obviously went from offline to online. And then we started to really build out that part of our company. So now we've since built even beyond that, creator education, influencer programs, basically anything involving marketing or creation or influencers or strategy adjacent to mobile gaming is kind of where we shine. So we call ourselves the Elevator, is basically end-to-end service provider. Anything you need in gaming, we've got you covered. And the cool thing is we have a pretty big team, about 65, 70 employees.
Huge,
and
Wow.
Out of that team, we have probably half of us have at one point covered these games, like content, or like basically throughout the last decade, all of the real grinders, the real subject matter experts in gaming that we've met along the way, we kind of brought under the umbrella. So it's been awesome, and everybody, so much about these communities. One thing I've learned really through hiring, frankly, a lot, along the last 5 years is, man, you can have every degree in the world, not to say that like education isn't important or anything like that, but you can have every degree in the world, but man, experience is so unbelievably valuable. We just learned that along the way. So like a guy that has covered mobile games for 10 years, coming in with no marketing experience versus somebody who, has an MBA, right? Oftentimes it's a coin flip, or maybe even in the direction of the creator, especially in this ecosystem, because having that intimate knowledge of where games have gone right, where games have gone wrong, how communities react, how creators react, that is invaluable. So yeah.
If you could
Yeah.
sort of go back to and see yourself 10 years ago, like, would you believe the path that you've been on? Like, you think about these different kind of like games you've covered. You got this mammoth business now in this space, really well respected business. Like, could you ever see yourself going in this direction and going this far?
No, heck no, right? I mean, long story short is no. I mean, I've always been the type of, I'm sure like all of us, right? I think it's in kind of like in a startup DNA, right? Where I've never been a one job kind of guy. Well, I always have, I guess, in a way, but I've always had side projects, side gigs, things I'm trying to build, things I'm trying to do. So before this, before any of YouTube, before any of the AMG or anything like that, Fateless, I was a mailman, like I was for 13 and a half years. So it wasn't just like a
Wow.
little
I
thing.
did not know this. Okay. This is wow.
Yeah. Good old Boston, Route 8, just every day.
Yeah.
But I found no disrespect to mailmen. Like I said, I was in the NALC for 13 card carrying member, but it was not very nourishing, so to speak, to the old mind. And it didn't really play to any of my passions, or I didn't feel like I was able to give back in any way, meaningful way. So I was always looking for that other areas to fill those needs, right? So I just started listening to a ton. The one best thing about the post office, what I miss every day, is I could just listen to audiobooks and podcasts every day, all day. So I would listen to business startups. I would listen to biographies or autobiographies of individuals, of entrepreneurs, of just smart minds, of even, like not like actors or athletes. Like I listened to, back in the day, like Mike Tyson's autobiography, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. And even if in every case I didn't look up to the individual per se, I was able to glean something. And then I got into tech books, like the history of Google, the history of Twitter, or whatever, yada yada. And
did you come at it from like, I really want to start a business? Like, were you thinking to yourself like, okay, I'm doing this gig and I want to do something different. I'm interested in, I want to start a business, or I want just anything different, or I want to go into game. Like, how did you come into gaming? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it was very serendipitous how I got into gaming. And no, I've never been, for better or for worse, I've never been a long-term goal kind of person. It's just not in my DNA in terms of what I think about. I never, even starting YouTube, I never thought I'm going to grow and be a massive channel, or, I always just think about basically the next day or a week or whatever, like the short term. I'm a short-term kind of guy. So when I'm reading all those books and collecting all that, which I still do, like I don't think I'm going to start a geopolitics company, but I'm really into geopolitics. Like I'm really into, things going on in the world. Like I just have just like everybody, I have a variety of just random interests, which I just spend a lot of time learning about. Because, it's so weird. I'm going on a tangent here, but after college is when I first, the worst timing is when I first developed a real love and yearning to just to know things, to learn things.
You're like, I finished my schooling.
I finished schooling.
Now I'm interested in
right? Did you guys have that experience at all?
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
100%. Oh my God.
I find myself, I don't read as much, but I do watch a lot of YouTube videos. But I find myself watching them all at like 1.5 speed now, because I haven't got the time really to spend an hour watching.
Hurry up.
I really want to watch it, so I'm literally like, can I just try and understand what they're saying at like 1.5 speed?
No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I just like, learning is so, I sound like I'm on a pulpit here at the whatever, but learning is so addictive and it's so fun because everybody can find something in life that they're interested in, so for me, I wasn't interested in becoming a content creator. I did like, I can't even call it acting. I'm like talking like high school and, like college little things, but like I was involved in theater, like growing up, so I always knew that like I wasn't afraid to perform or in front of a big crowd or behind the mic or whatever, like love me or hate me. I can ramble as I'm demonstrating right now. And I can try to be somewhat mildly entertaining, but, I didn't know what the vehicle would be. So for me, gaming ended up being that vehicle, but I kind of haphazardly stumbled upon it. I was into Clash of Clans like everybody in 2011. And I was just like, I saw like a couple content creators. I don't even know what we called them back then, but I saw some guys uploading videos on YouTube about Clash of Clans. And I was like, well, geez, I'm going to try that. Because I had tried everything. I had like a travel blog, not vlog, blog, like typing. Right. So I would go. So I went to Italy and I drove a thing. Then I'm really into, not to get on a, just want to try to break all the rules of a typical podcast, but I am probably the most theologically intrigued or interested. I probably know the most about world religions as an atheist in the world. So right. I had this whole thing where I'm as an atheist, I'm going to go interview faith leaders in every denomination, have respectful conversations with them, and then write about them. So I did that for a couple of years like this. It never took off. Shocker, right? That's not in high demand, that content, apparently. And then I had like a little eBay business where I buy things off eBay, or I buy things off Craigslist and I sell them on eBay. So I was always doing like little stuff. And then one day I was like, maybe I could try a YouTube video, you know? But of course, back then it's like, how do I get a video onto my computer? You know,
right. It's like the management
today,
of dealing with it.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, back in 2011, I mean, I was playing Clash of Clans. Everybody was. It was like the new thing. And it's funny because I actually remember watching your content. You know, back in 2011, 2012, and then to be working with you, you know, 14 years later. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think I was one of the first 5 AMG signed for like creators out of your normal sphere.
I will give it to you, Brad. I you were definitely in the first batch. I forget. I think we had like about within the first week we had like 15 creators signed. You were in that batch. Well, I forgot the order. Yeah,
it's all good. And I promise I had a topic here and a question here. You know, you said you kind of tried everything. And then, you know, did it pop off right away? Like within a week, were you like, oh, dude?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's the other thing about me is I am I will not quit on. I don't quit on things for better and for worse a lot too. So yeah, man, I remember uploading it's still up there, my 500 subscriber special. Right. About 8 months into my channel. It took me so long.
I mean, this is the thing though, because I think
it might have been longer, it might have been a year. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
If you're an entrepreneur, that's the thing. Like, what is it? I keep going back to this quote. I think it's Winston Churchill. Like, success is moving from failure to failure, and still having and like maintaining your enthusiasm. I think is the hopefully I didn't butcher this, but it's basically that, right? And it's like, you know, and the other thing is like when other people might view something as a failure, right? Oh, your channel hasn't exploded after X number of months, but it's like, you're in it to win it, right? You got
it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative to your moment in time. Like your video yesterday was getting 100 views. Now you get 200 views. You're like, damn, this is a great video.
That's what it is.
Like, you know, you're feeling great about that. And did you have like
I fed off that, you know?
And did you have like a proper pop-off point that you can remember where, because obviously your channel, you're near enough 1 million subs at this point. Like, was there a point where you kind of went from, okay, slow growth to just, wow, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. So to your point, Simon, that was exactly my experience. It's not that I was just like oh my God, no one has grind like Ash does. It was more of like the dopamine hits I was getting from going from 10 views to 20 views was more than enough to sustain me at the time. Maybe maybe it's better to say that my expectations were so low that I was constantly thrilled with a few viewers, you know, with a very slow growth trajectory. Yeah, I did in 2016. So I was also, oh my God. So I read a Ben Franklin biography going back to my addiction to biographies, which I still have. And he used to do this thing, is a kind of a shady thing of how I got my start, but he used to do this thing where he would write into a bunch of newspapers under aliases talking about, wow, that Ben Franklin guy is amazing. You know, I really love him. So I would, in the early days of Reddit, I would create all these Reddit profiles.
Please tell me you actually did this.
I discovered this Clash with Ash. I don't know. The name's kind of lame, but this guy really knows what he's talking about. So I tried everything. I was DMing at a respectable cadence. I would maybe like every 2 months I was DMing the community managers of Clash of Clans back in 2014 or whatever, like, hey, just want to let you know, I wasn't asking for anything, but I just wanted, like, here, if you ever had any feedback for me, you know, yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
And then after doing that for a couple of years in 2016, I don't know why, but I think at that point I was at like 10,000 subscribers. You know, I had grown a little bit after a few years, and they invited me for a Clash Royale launch event. And
Brilliant.
I was the smallest creator of 8 in that event. And
Okay.
that's what kind of took me to the next level. So I was with like the, you know, the OGs at the time. I'm sure maybe some viewers know, but like it was like Nick and Molt and Chief Pat and stuff. And like I was, so I was there, smallest creator. And then as the launch of a new game, and like I wasn't really into Clash Royale, to be fair. Like I'm not a hater, because at the end of the day, I'm in my 30s playing video games for a living. I don't care what I'm playing, man.
Yeah.
Like some creators nowadays, they're like, I don't know if that game is my type of game. I don't know if I can be authentic. And I'm like, dude, you're playing a video game and you're getting paid a lot. Just play the damn game.
Go have fun, dude. Yeah.
Go have fun with it. Teach yourself to like the damn game, man. Because even though Clash Royale wasn't my fave game, it's just like, dude, I'm literally doing this on my iPad after slaving away in feet of snow, delivering mail every day. It's a hell of a lot better. So even though it wasn't my cup of tea, I still that was it. It was really Clash Royale. Then I started getting a little bit of promotion and yada yada yada. And I finally found a model that suited my growth on my channel. It took me years to figure it out. But the thing with me is as any raid viewer will know, I don't really know I'm not a wonk on these games. I'm not going to be Saf. I'm not going to come in there and data mine. I'm not going to be chosen. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be any of you guys. So with Clash, it's not a genius idea, but I just decided, hey, I'm just going to start a clan, recruit the best players in the game, essentially. So I devoted my time to that. And then I'm going to bring them all on my YouTube channel as guests. So I had like 4,000 videos on my Clash channel, and about 3,500 of those are collaborations with top players. So I would just bring them on calls, no video, and we would look at their gameplay, and I just ask them questions, you know, and that ended up being the winning formula, because I was able to take myself, I'm not a good video game player per se, and get away from my weakness by basically bringing on people who had those strengths. That was it.
Well, I guess it kind of ties into one of the things we wanted to talk about in this podcast, which is all about, you know, communities in games. I would say one of my key strengths of growing my platform, you know, certainly when I was starting out, is I built a Discord. I was super active in my Discord. I invited people to come along to the Discord if they got questions about the game, or if they want to just kind of like chat about the game outside of, you know, YouTube videos. And I think building that community early on for me is probably the key reason I actually ended up being able to make it in this industry. You know, I started to get a community of people that were just like-minded, you know, had fun playing these games. And eventually that kind of like spiraled onto, okay, well, we'll build a website for this community, and they'll become members there. And, you know, and that interaction continues. And it sounds like your utilization of the community is actually gleaming knowledge, you know, sharing their experiences, and letting other players, you know, understand cool tactics or whatever from these kind of like top level players. And I think for us at Fateless, communities is kind of like the foundation really of everything we're doing. We want to make sure that there are reasons to interact with other people in your clans. You know, there's events where you play alongside your clan. We want to kind of get back to that old school raid feeling of, you know, World of Warcraft. Anything we can do to that type of level, we're really exploring what's possible. So yeah,
I agree 100%. Real quick, Sham, I gotta ask Simon the same question back to you. You kind of outlined a little bit of your growth trajectory of how you kind of started in raid. Was there a moment that where you thought that, whoa, I hit on something here, things are changing, or, you know, was there a certain moment that you experienced that with your channel or your brand or the site?
Yeah, I think for me, so I actually did get quite quick growth, way quicker growth than I ever expected to get, because it was literally like, this is going to be a sideline hobby. And then pretty quickly I was like, actually, this is really cool. I could just do this. But for me, it was more about, I think, some of the people that I surrounded myself with that enabled me to kind of like push on to bigger things. So everything I was doing on my YouTube channel was quite insular. When I then kind of like branched out into the Discord and started to get some really knowledgeable moderators, and then obviously when I met with Dan Fiction, and we started to do a plan around social and around website, that was probably the real kicker for me to, I guess, enable Fateless. Really, like we wouldn't be here today if we hadn't taken that path, because obviously as a website grow, as the brand grows, we're able to attract just a wider audience. Our income grows because of the website and what have you, and therefore, we put a pretty good sizable amount of collateral down to explore whether Fateless was an option, and that just wouldn't have been possible. So I definitely think that was a turning point, really. Working with Dan and starting to build out HH Gaming, and really starting to see what else we could do outside of me just doing videos on a daily basis.
I want to jump in and contribute that getting to see people from the outside and then work together with people like Simon and Tim and Sham, and I'm starting to realize that a big key of being successful is somebody's ability to like judge who they should work with and associate with, because like I just see the insane amount of talent that's like around Simon, like with Saphira and Fixion and like everyone is good. Like there's no weak link. So I think, and then same thing with Tim, with Powerbang over at AMG, like knowing the kind of people to surround yourself with and work on things with is definitely a skill that really is a massive determining factor. And then the people I meet through Sham, like Dirk and stuff, like everyone is so strong, and you start to realize this is a common theme of people that are doing things, is they know how to judge who's going to help them kind of progress.
But they also really complement you. So like if I just go out and find 10 more people that have got the same skill set that I've got, I'm probably not that successful, because we're all doing this. We want to do the same thing, but when we've got like the likes of you three, all very different skill sets to me, the likes of Saf, the analytical mind, which perhaps no one else on the planet has got. But everyone's got this different kind of skill set, which enables us to be really great as a group. And I think that's the key, is like looking for those gaps, or looking in someone and thinking, all right, we might not be the same type of person, but actually we can work really well together.
Because I mean, there's two angles to looking, and just to kind of hop on what you're saying, like I completely agree. Like for what we're doing, or what we've done building Fateless, it's all about kind of like filling those. Okay, we need this person to do that, we need this person to do that. But it's like just analogy for like for your success in life, and it feels like we all kind of come to the same place from different angles, and that's so cool, because really all it is like we connected through a shared passion in some ways, right? Like we all love video games. We whether we watched, whether we were building them, or we were watching them, or we were learning about them, or whatever it is, we all kind of came to it. And that community, I think it's not only just crucial to what we're doing at Fateless and what we're it's what we're all about, but I think it's the way that I would say like all companies that are front facing should really be pushing for. It's like how can we connect or organically and really truly with the people that are playing our games. And you guys, I think you just kind of hit on how that's done, which is just surround yourself with people that are interested in doing something special, that fill the gaps in your strengths, and then just kind of keep pushing forward. And then if you share that vision with other people, you'll find more people. It's kind of this like big cycle of like, so I don't know.
It's some of the best life advice that you can, to all of your points, is some of the best life advice that that could give anybody out there. If you want to be successful in any field, it's look for the people who just stand out a bit as kind of diamonds in the rough, people who you're like, wow. If you ever meet, it doesn't happen all the time, right? This is why it's so special. But, and I'm not saying I'm one of these people. I'm just saying that in my history here as a content creator or whatever, anytime I meet somebody, it's been like, a handful of people or whatever throughout the 10 years, that anytime you encounter somebody in your day-to-day life or in your social network, that you get this feeling like, wow, they just don't fail. Or like, I can't picture this person failing. That's the type of people that you're like, hey, if given the opportunity, I want to work with them. I kind of want to be
Yeah.
like, I want to associate with people like that. And I've said this before. I think I said this on our first Fateless video, Simon, but I felt that way about the Fateless or about the Hell Hades gaming website team, basically. Right. And I was like, ooh, you guys do really good stuff. You know, like we all have our personas as content creators and stuff like that. Not to say that they're fake, but like you start to see behind the scenes because that's where all the hard work is done, right? And
Yeah.
how people act and carry themselves, and you know, not everybody is what you think they might be like. You know, it's a sad truth. And because I met thousands and thousands of creators and individuals, but when I meet people who just really have that passion, and I'm not sure if we've ever told a story, Sham, or if you've ever told the story of how we met, but do you remember? Do you remember?
The first time we met, I think
Probably don't.
I'll let you tell it because you'll tell it better than I will, but I am remembering now.
From my point of view, it was you. I saw an email. This is back when we only had like, I don't know, 30 or 40 creators under our roster. And Simon, we had just gotten Hell Hades, Simon. And, you know, so when we sign a talent, usually I'll check out, we manage their inbox and their deals, whatever. So usually, you know, just for the first week or two, I'll just check out their inbox to see how popping it is. Like, do a lot of people want to work with this creator and what kind of inquiries are they getting? And we got Sham on his previous gig, reaching out to Hell Hades, wanting to consult him on a new game. And I'm like, anybody who wants to consult Simon, I want to know what they're up to, because that's because it's not a shocker here, but we play the most expensive games to play, unfortunately, right? And people, how do I say this? People who understand that and like and see the not just the value from a monetary standpoint, but also who understand the creators who cover raid. I guess what I'm trying to say is the creators who cover this genre, they get a lot of different opportunities than creators who are 10 times their size because of, frankly, the value of the audience. And that's not going to come to a shocker to anybody because you guys play these games. You know how expensive they can be. So it's telling the type of people who reach out for some sort of consulting or just even a chat with a creator. And after we, you know, I forgot exactly, this is years and years ago, but eventually I'm like, I met Sham that way too, you know, and that's kind of how we met. But after just talking to you on one call, I think I was like, I want to invest in your company.
But to speak to that, so I didn't actually know that exact angle that you came in. I just knew that you had heard that, you know, that Simon was going to be involved and you wanted to chat. And, but yeah, I mean, like I remember that. Like I remember feeling, so we have like, I think we're a couple days off birthday wise. Just a couple. It just felt like there were just like a bunch of things. You meet somebody, and you're just like, you know what, I like this. I like this guy. This person. I want to be, like you said, you know, someone special. I want to connect with them. I want to work with them. And I feel like you said, after that one call, I felt the same thing. I'm just like, how can I be involved? How can I work with? I mean, frankly, all of you guys, you know, you know pretty right away. And I'm very much like that. Like, I don't know, you guys might not know this, but I asked my wife to marry me 1 month into our relationship.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was just like, we're good. We got it. You know, we've been married for, you know, almost 20 years now. So like,
okay, that's a strong track record. If you were like in 2 months ago we got married, I'd be like, oh shoot.
Actually, you know, things didn't work out after a month, but but no.
And I'm on my fourth wife now.
Right. I'm just really impulsive. It just doesn't always work out. But yeah, I mean, that's so funny. Like that brings back some fond memories of kind of like, you know, those first meetings and connecting.
Yeah,
like
I told the abbreviated version. It was really one of our salespeople that I was like, connect me with that guy. I want to hear about his game, you know? But it was really cool though. And but like to all the overall point is like, yeah, that's it, man. Just like when you meet people that are super passionate about something and you feel like, hey, they're going to succeed, if not on this project, because we've all failed, myself first and foremost, but it's something about them and their passion and their drive, right? And their hunger, try to associate with those individuals. So obviously I've seen that in all three of you and the Fateless team at large. And you guys have done a heck of a job. Even the Hell Hades team has done a heck of a job bringing on standouts in the community who have shown not just a knowledge for the game and like good people, but also just adding a different element to the team to kind of make it stronger. I feel like, outside looking in.
Yeah. What's cool as well, when we have our meetings, we do a round table every week, and every week we've got a different topic. And I think what stands out for me in every single one of those, it's like, but how do we make sure we deliver the best that we've seen in this genre for this particular area? Whether it's talking about guild versus guild, or whether it's like events, or masteries. It could be any topic that we do, but it's like, what have we seen? What's kind of like the minimum standard, and then like, how do we make sure that we try and create the best possible version of that we can do? And that's the same really when it comes around to the kind of like community interaction stuff. I think most of us, I'm not sure if you were, Brad, actually, I think certainly the rest of us were big World of Warcraft players, and that kind of like feeling of playing with your guild, these 10-man raids, 20-man raids, whatever it was, that was just such a big part of my gaming enjoyment, right? And it's like, how do we, a lot of people play this genre because they used to do that. They don't really have the time for that anymore, but they just want a taste of it still in their life. And it's like, how do we bring that taste of some of the most fun elements of that experience? And the genre doesn't quite deliver on it yet. And we're trying. We're thinking that what's going to be that kind of like fun middle ground where we can actually bring that through.
I mean, it's what's the next gen? What's the next generation of these games, right? Like what is the evolution of these things? And I think what's to kind of bring things kind of together, all the people that are sitting in those conversations for the roundtable, we always come through with something we're like, oh man, we definitely would not have thought of that without the collaboration of maybe we've read through the Discord messages and they're highlighted by, let's say Brad comes in and says that, or Ash comes in and he's just like, the inspiration for the mastery system, by the way, I'm going to give credit right now, our mastery system that we've talked about.
100%.
That's Ash, man. That's but
now you know who to blame, guys.
It's built on community. I mean, that's and to kind of like come back to what we've been talking about. I mean, I just think it's crucial from every single angle. I think that there for a long time, and I think that there's a lot of games that are doing this okay now. Mobile wasn't really the place where people felt like they could do community. They felt like, oh, we have to go external. We have to go to some other place. We need to meet up somewhere. But I mean, if you really think about it, where's your phone right now? You know exactly where your phone is because it's a piece of your body at this point. Everyone has their phone. I mean, and some people are trying to like, okay, how can we get away from this from like too much of it, right? But you know exactly where it is. You know that the interactions that you have on your phone are real and special, and it's like, how can we push those? So from a games perspective, we want to make sure we're doing that. But it's not just game, right? It's company, it's everything, how we build it, how we build our team, how we think about everything.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Also, I think something which is quite fun around what we're doing right now is, we're involving the community in shaping the game. So our Discord, it's active. We're asking questions. We're actively asking for people to come with ideas. And a number of the things we're implementing in the game are at least an element of an idea that we've then reshaped, or we've just kind of like gone with, and that's quite special as well. I think it's really that foundation of the community we've built over the last 4 years that are now coming in and saying, look, we want to help you build the best game that you could possibly build, and and make sure that we've got key elements in there. And we can't do everything, obviously, because some of the comments are like, well, never charge us for anything in the game, and
every champion
build the
for
best
free.
possible game we can,
right,
and spend 10 million on cinematics that last an hour. Like, it's just some stuff you can't do if you're also running a business. But but there's a good chunk of them that we can do actually, or do elements of, especially if we also agree that we think that'd be a really cool idea.
Yeah, and I have a question for Tim here, if you guys don't mind. But when it comes to like community and launching a game and relating to your content creators and your player base successfully, someone like you is a good person to ask for advice, because you've been around many of these different communities. All of the Clash Royale and the Clash of Clans and the Supercell games and the Raid, and then working with AMG. you see how all these different creators are integrated in their different communities across many different genres, FPS, RTS, all sorts of different things. What would be kind of like the number one thing you've learned working from like the business side of AMG, and what we should make sure that we do or don't do when we're launching our game to make sure that we're relating to the player base and the creators in the community?
Yeah, thanks for the layup. Thanks for this. I appreciate it. No, honestly, I think that there's so many different like sub sets of community, right? Like there's the creators, there's, but just to answer your question directly, I think that the number one thing is communication. And it's easy to communicate during good times, very difficult to communicate during bad times. A lot of developers do not communicate transparently during bad times. And when I say bad times, I mean, inevitably, every single game in the history of games that has live ops is going to have unpopular things that happen. I mean, I've never been a part of a gaming community that didn't have unpopular things, even the most popular games, right? Because, inevitably, there'll be a decision to make, and 55% of the community would want something and 45 would want something. Maybe it's more polarized. Maybe it's 80-20, whatever it may be. We'll have to make decisions that will upset a lot of people, a lot of players. And it's really about explaining why, and then in continuing on that discourse too. Like people, it's not going to satisfy a lot of players, but people really appreciate the communication. Every time I see developers go really bad is when they make an unpopular decision and they don't talk for a long time, and things really start to get really bad they can start really losing players there. Right. So I think that like that's first and foremost, just having an open line of communication, and also not being afraid to change our minds, on some things. It's probably not going to be possible in most situations, but sometimes it takes things getting to the point where there's a mass exodus, and just like for people to actually change their minds or say we messed up, I think I mean, I'm like that in my personal life. I'm like that, in my business life, but like all the time I will say I was wrong. I'll always fight for what I believe in pretty vehemently, but I'll also be quick to say that I was wrong. And I think that's the same philosophy to have when you're engaging the community. And then beyond that, I think the most important thing is to have, there's one thing to have awesome communities outside the game, but to have awesome things that bring players together inside the game as well, right? So it can be little tiny things, such as one of the first things we talked about is like, ooh, I liked how this game has like, instead of just clicking on someone's profile, you can see all their achievements, you can see awards or whatever the heck, like little things, but their best run times, their most used champions, like stuff like that. Like add a little bit more personalization, and then add as many ways as possible that can organically make us like either compete with one another in the game or compete together, against others in the clan. Like that fosters community. As I said, I started in Clash of Clans, and I started before Clan Wars. You don't even have to know the game. There was no element of working together. Like, why are we in a clan when there's there's just a clan chat? That's it. I can donate.
I actually, I'll be honest, I did not know Clash of Clans ever had a time where there were no clan
It was like
wars.
2 years of
that's
no
basically their
Clan
game.
Wars. Yeah.
So it's literally called Clash of Clans. You would think the clans would be clashing.
I did not know that
they
was
could
a
have at
thing.
least done a CVC tournament and just give us points for spending money. At least that. They didn't even do that. So, but no, in reality though, it was an all right. It was still cool because it was a new genre, a new game. Everything was different back then for mobile devices. We went from Snake to Clash of Clans. It was like, whoa,
Snake.
So it was still huge, but had no social element to it. But then when there was a it doesn't have to be clan versus clan, but in that case, it was that it changed everything. All of a sudden, we had to strategize together. We had to communicate together. We had war officers in every clan, like we had people helping each other to improve their attacks, to like that social dynamic.
You care that the other people are there. That's it's so crucial. Like,
that's it. So that was the biggest, making things in the game that force people to help each other, communicate to each other, stuff like that. Like, and making it a competition on top of that. It really just, it doesn't feel forced. It feels organic. Like I want to step in here. I need to step in here. Not that, oh, I don't really want to talk to some stranger. Like, so it was, so I don't know if that answers your question, but those are some things community wise that, mean a lot to me, but I could probably go on and on.
I mean, that community point is such a good one. Like, I feel like the, a relationship with the community is kind of like a family, right? If you are like, this is what we're doing, this is the new law in the household, right? In the game. And then people are like, whoa, but what about this? And what have you thought about that? And you just like shut down and say nothing. Obviously, in a family, that's not gonna fly. It doesn't work, right? You have to have open communication, explaining why things are the way they were, because really we want what the players want, right? We want players to be having fun, be excited, be hanging out together. Like it's all shared interest, right? And that's true again in a family. So that's the way I think that we'll probably approach it.
It's tough with Fateless. It's tough with this game. The name hasn't been
not yet.
released. Okay, it's tough with this game. I don't know if you guys have shared this before, but I certainly won't shy away from it. But it is tough because I feel like the expectations are so high, right? Because people know us, and I think like these podcasts and stuff that you guys have been doing have been amazing. I love that insight because it gives people insight to the decisions that we're making, the conversations we're having, and they feel more part of a process, which also cultivates community. But it's also every round table we go on, inevitably at some point, we're just like, ooh, like, there's one thing for me. I'll just speak for myself. It's been eye-opening and scary, the number of decisions that go into a game. Like a game like this, especially.
It's so simple. What do you mean? It's very simple.
Yeah. You think that like, okay, we'll figure out what the champions are like, figure out what the levels are like, what the bosses are like, what the events are like, whatever. And then, but like, there's so much more.
So much. Yeah.
And we could be talking about, we mentioned masteries early. We could be talking something about masteries. It could become a 20 hour combo easily. Because
one
just
feature,
like, then you start overthinking things.
Affects everything else.
Yeah.
Yes,
and how it affects the
part of the rainbow graph
is
else.
It? Like, it's just,
it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure too, and you're just like, I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, I have a lot of faith, obviously, but it's tough because it's impossible to make a game that everybody loves in the world. Like it's so it's not going to be a hit with everybody, no matter what you do. Yeah. But you want it to be a hit with everybody. So you're always striving for that, and then it leads you to, at least me, it leads you to second guess, so much. You're like, okay, wait. Is that too much? Is that too little? Like
it's quite interesting as well. So I put out a video showing the first kind of like playable version of the game. Yeah. So an actual level it's an executable
very
game on my
pre-alpha.
PC. It's super early. And I tried to make sure that I said that at least 50 times during the video, that this is not finished in terms of the game. But still, it's so scary because you're like, look, I want to share with you as much as I can because it's so fun, and also because it's a learning for anyone who's never been involved in game production. There's so many things, like you say, that go into this, but there's also this kind of like fear of, if people look at this and think, oh, this just looks a bit crap, the animations aren't looking very slick. It's like, well, we haven't even done them yet. We haven't done any of the UI yet.
Yeah.
But all I want to show you is that we've got characters in a game. They function. The systems are working.
The cool thing, though, Simon, is that like that's going to make those videos look so much cooler in a few years. The fact that it was
this is where we were.
Bones.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing.
Now, people are like, what?
Yeah, but the point I was trying to make is that even though they don't look as slick as they will do, the vast majority, I'm talking like at least 99% of people that comment on those videos are just like, can't believe how much you've done in this time. Like it's already looking pretty cool. And the 1%, which clearly didn't hear the 50 times that I said it's pre-alpha, that say, well, the animations aren't that great. It's like, well, no. But
you're right.
And it's hard not to focus on that 1%.
I know.
Because we're humans, right? And we're just kind of like, we want to try and fix the bad, but actually the overwhelming kind of positivity already from the community around quality of visuals, the effort that we're putting into making sure that this game's really creative and different, and but while still having those kind of like fundamentals of this genre that people love, it's very, very cool to see, actually.
I mean, and what we're doing, we have to just kind of highlight, it is us being so transparent is essentially an experiment, right? Game companies on average don't do this because it's like you have to be really focused on amazing communication like that Simon is doing. But it's like putting out your art where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this big mural, like not even a painting, I'm going to do a big mural, put music to it, and actually it's going to be moving. I'm going to show you every circle I draw. You know, we can't show you every single circle, but I'm going to show you like the stepwise, making of this thing. Some people are going to love that. Some people are going to be like you said, but what we're finding is that because we've been so focused on building community and being, and we love you guys so much, just honestly, yeah, it's been so overwhelmingly positive. I don't know. I can't get, it's almost hard to get over like how good it's been.
The cool thing is about this whole project, and one of the reasons that attracted me to it is maybe this is a taboo topic, but like, I never got the sense ever that anybody was in this for the money at all. Like, everybody's in this to build a really cool game, everybody, every step of the way, almost to the point of like, okay, we know we're going to have transactions in the game, but like, how little can we have to justify these updates in the future or whatever? It's very interesting, and it's really cool because I'm sure big game studios, they just can't do that. It's just like big movie studios. It's like, here's your budget for this game, have fun, and then make us X, Y, or Z by whatever. So
this return, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. And this feels so much more community driven to all your points, like people actually giving a lot of feedback. These podcasts, the videos you put out, it reminds me, I don't know. I listened to a couple podcasts back in the day. One was, I forgot even the name of the podcast, but it was from the founders of a company called Gimlet Media. They were a podcast studio, right? And they ended up selling for like 100 million or something to Spotify or something like that. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but they started with a podcast about making a podcast studio. And I remember as a listener, I felt so invested as well. And like, I was just like, the ups and the downs and the questions and the teams and the community and the feedback and everything. It made me this project, Fateless, gave me those same vibes. And I knew how successful, not just monetarily, but how successful like Gimlet was, right? And how special that, like, I had that same kind of feeling. And I think pretty early on, I reached out, I think it was Sham or something first. And I was like, dude, what's going on there in Fateless, man?
Oh, Tim, it's
that vibe.
And we're like, Tim, welcome to the team.
Yeah,
Let's
like,
go.
We're just gonna DM you and bring you in.
It's a great shout out because a lot of people won't know this, but yeah, even our main investors, they want to see a cool game. They're talking to us about the game, and they want to see how things are coming along, and they're like genuinely passionate about it. Yeah. They're not just like, take this money and 5x it in 3 years. Like they actually do want to be involved.
I do an investor update, and everyone's like, I already know. Yeah. I already know all this stuff.
I'm watching the videos. Stop updating me.
It's cool. Yeah, it's very cool actually. I just get emails back. Yeah, this looks cool. Like, loving the art style, loving the direction, and yeah, it feels good. It feels good. I mean, obviously, all of that aside, it still is a business. Like, and this is something which we'll probably get criticism of at some point, because it is costing multi-millions to produce this game, and we've got a number of people that we're paying on a weekly basis with zero income right now. All of that stuff eventually has to come back, right? So. But it's just not doing it in an egregious way.
Which of the $1,000 packs we got planned for the
people.
It's the entry level.
Exactly.
And Simon said we're trying to set a new bar. That's what he meant.
Exactly.
You're right, though. That's and that's where obviously marketing comes in too. Is like, people don't recognize it's not just the people. I mean, I'm not trying to be defensive here, because I'm sure people are aware, right, like how these games work to some extent, but. I mean, I don't think I can name numbers, but Plarium, as an example, they spend hundreds of millions, right, in marketing, and they make hundreds of millions too. But it just like anything else, like, we need players, right? And whatnot. So, there's obviously a business side to it, but the cool thing is it's the perfect blend of people who understand the business element, but know to have a successful game, to have a successful business, you can't always be business minded on the creative side of the project, the actual
It's got to
building
be
the
a fun
project,
game.
you know?
It's got to
So,
be fun. It's got to be cool.
Yeah.
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 And I can't wait. There's so many elements that I'm just like, I cannot wait. We're only probably just over a year away from, hoping
Crazy.
to push the game out.
It's crazy
Like,
how
Simon leaking
that's
release
just-
date in this video.
Well,
Is this what's going on right now?
no,
I nearly did, and I was like, I can't really say proper
Dan,
proper
we're gonna
things,
see
but,
Dan.
it's like, that's not that far away in the scheme of things. That is not that far away. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, be careful. That's going to get clipped. Simon said it's not that far away.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine. But that's true. That's true. It's
but we're working on cinematics. We're working on, obviously all of these character concepts. All of the systems are being built. Like, we're just kind of like flying at such a rate. It's mad. But
yeah.
Well,
I would love to hear too from the viewers, like what means a lot to them as being a part of a community, a game community, like we talked about communication and stuff like that. We talked about, I think having some say in like what comes next, or, like obviously they can't develop the game, right? But like, key feature ideas and stuff like after the game is live. I think that's also a pretty cool component. What about you guys? Do you guys have anything that that we didn't mention that you really value as part of a community that you're involved in, or a successful community you've been involved in?
Like,
or have you not seen it done, and that's why you're doing this?
For me, you've touched on a lot of the things, right? I mean, like I think my favorite experiences were like started with community, as in my friends. I'm sitting on my couch playing games. I like being around people, but then when it moved to online and we're connecting, like we keep going back to World of Warcraft. But like facilitating, like you said, those internal game mechanics that incentivize being around each other, being connected with other players, giving very positive incentives, and I'm all about incentives, to make it so people want to or care that there are other players playing this game, right? This is not a single player game. This is a game that you should be you can play it single player, right? But I think it's going to be more fun if you're connected with other people that are playing, if you're striving towards a goal that you're all interested in, if as you do those things you are rewarded and you reward the people that are connected to that. That's what's crucial to me. Incentives are aligned and people are excited about it.
I think there's another thing that we've not really touched on today. We kind of talked about it with DM actually, but having game modes where it's kind of like streamable content where a community can kind of get involved in someone that they enjoy to watch and actually follow their path. So some of our kind of roguelike type content, or I don't know if we spoke about roguelikes. Did we speak about roguelikes?
We talked about it. Yeah.
These type of game modes where you can basically it's a free entry as such, and every single time you run that content is going to be different, which gives you that element of excitement. Is someone get like the perfect run where they're getting all of these cool kind of power-ups, and I feel like that drives community as well, having having a game that can actually be played effectively on a Twitch or YouTube streaming, that type of thing. I think that's really fun as well. When I used to stream a lot of Raid, actually it was fantastic. Even though I didn't really feel like Raid was a great game to stream, it was good to have a few hundred people in a stream just kind of like coming in, asking for support. You end up starting to see a lot of the same names, and that's building a community to me. It's kind of like that interaction where you see a name and it's like, oh, how did you get on with this? Or you just kind of like get to know what people are doing a bit better.
Well, how cool would it be to be able to, once the game is live, to not only have like dev streams, where we talk with the community, that'd be awesome, but also bring on like clan leaders or whatever, like people in the community, right? Like because that
top clan leaders,
I would love to hear top clan leaders talking to Plarium. Like I don't know what they say, but
definitely.
Like
that would be
it
cool,
would be really cool, to have that sort of that sort of communication live,
Yeah, and I'm sure when we do our kind of like beta testing, because there's loads of people already in the community saying, when there's a beta, let us know. We want to be involved. We want to help. Like when we're doing that, pulling a couple of those people that are super active in that beta test onto a podcast like this to talk about some of their real kind of like positives.
What do you see? What are the concerns?
What do you need? What could we do differently? I think again, it would just be so valuable to everyone. Yeah.
And that's what I value most about you guys. Well, us, I guess.
Yeah.
is I feel like everybody on the team. This is like a very. I feel like this is very taboo in the space, but I feel like most developers are afraid of their player base. I feel like they're afraid of their player base. I feel like they would never. That's why you don't. Why don't you? Because one might ask the question, why don't you see this on a regular basis? You know, like see people try it a little bit, right? But I think people are afraid of what people might say or ask, you know, and that's where, you know, ending where we started, I guess. That's where I think the transparency, even on unpopular decisions, and it's hard, it's not easy, but, and I can understand if you have a company like Plarium with 5,000 employees and, you know, parent companies, and there can be a lot of red tape, you know, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing about where we are right now. And it's something that we should definitely embrace. And, you know, both as Fateless employees, but also as the community, you know, that we have this really, it's corny to say, but like it's a magical time in a game's like the launch of a game is really special. And it's everybody listening right now or watching right now, you know, once the game launches, guaranteed you're going to be talking about back in the day, how you were one of the old school players that were following the game even before it's released. And that's really cool. You know, like those nostalgia that really adds up over the years, you know?
Well, so one last thing. I've been watching a lot of Trevor Noah, and I always love to ask this question before we round it out, because I love when he does it. I think his podcast is actually called "What's Next" or "What Next" or something like that. But I just I love that question. It's one of those things where it will spark the most interesting answers. So Ash, what next? What next?
You had to ask me first.
No, you're the guest. You're the man. This is it.
Okay.
You said you're good at rambling. Let's see it.
Yeah. I am. But give me a little bit. I'm sorry. I no offense.
Could be anything, right?
Are you looking for
what's next in your life?
My day? Yeah. Lunch.
No. Well, what next? Sure.
Ash only knows one day out. He said that earlier.
Yeah. What next? What next? Well, from my personal vantage point, right? I'll take it at a very personal level. Is as it pertains to Fateless, it's how to utilize my knowledge and my team. Meaning like AMG, right? To create the best, given the tools at our disposal, right? To create the best influencer ecosystem possible, right? I want this to be I'm not talking about Mr. Beast. I don't care about that. I care about having like a really super amazing culture of creators, small creators. You know, I want people watching right now who have never covered a game ever and never thought they'd be a YouTuber or Twitch streamer to be motivated in creating a place that people can learn and be passionate about a game together, right? Through what we're working on here at Fateless. So, for me, that's the, it might not be the number one most important thing on my plate, right? In terms of,
I love that,
like,
though.
In terms of what we need to have done by next month, but in terms of the thing I'm most passionate about, that would be it. So I guess, yeah, that's it, is like taking all my learnings from everything that I personally felt every developer that we've ever worked with has done wrong and seeing if we can create something pretty special, you know? So I guess that's what's next.
I love that, dude. Awesome. That's amazing. See, there it always turns.
But you guys don't get to answer. I don't get to know what's next for you guys.
No, we're
not the special
guest. They know what's next. It's next week, but you know, we got to hear from you. We got to hear from the man with the plan.
It's, I mean, this is so corny. I feel like it's anytime you talk about like giving back or whatever is, I feel like it's like, oh God, they're you know, but like coming up with some sort of a way to do good too. Like it's difficult in this career. Like we're playing games, you know, but like some way to give back to the community, right? From us, other than just the game, has always been something that I've always wanted to do more of. It's just, need the right idea, I guess, you know, like it hasn't, you don't see people doing it a lot. So like finding an authentic and organic way to actually do good in the world is, you know, it's my long goal, I guess, right? And I'm sure you guys, just knowing the character and the type of people that you are, I'm sure you're on the same page there as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's super inspiring, honestly, whenever I watch one of those videos where you talk about something where you give back to some of these organizations and kind of like your story. So yeah, that's a great answer, man. I love it. On both ends, right? You got the shorter term and you got the longer term. I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Well, massive shout out to Sham and Simon for joining this week, and then also finally getting Ash here on the channel. I'm sure you'll see him around in other content as well. So we will link to Ash's channels and also the main avenues to engage with us, like the Discord server and all of that good stuff down below. Appreciate you watching this week, and we'll see you soon in the next one.